I see you guys have returned I realized that you guys have returned in my video. I hope to explain some beautiful techniques and strategies over here in how to increase your strength. You guys have to realize that when you're developing strength and you're becoming a better person throughout life, I promise you that it's more about asking questions and asking better questions than it is asking crappier ones. I promise you that it's more, how can I help them to have sex over how can you have sex? I realize no matter what that you are never important in the picture. I never need you to be important in life. I need you to make other people important. I need you to realize that when you're making others important, you will also be important. I need you to realize that when you are making yourself important only, I promise you that you will also grow. You just will never have people around you. I promise you now that you're looking at the better picture of how to increase your talent. I realize that no matter what, it's about asking better questions. It's about how can I help everybody in the world quit pornography and masturbation so I never have to watch it. I realize no matter what, when you have a question in your life, you need to also answer it, and you need to teach people how to do whatever it is you're trying to explain. I realize that once you explain it to other people, you'll be more aware of how to help yourself in that situation. I realize that I need to do a video every single day in the life coaching section so that I can help myself how to do something else. I need to help myself so that I can help you. I need to realize that no matter what, I may have a problem with pornography and masturbation. I realize no matter what, instead of me watching those people having sex, I realize to ask the question, how can I help more of those people have more of that sex? I realize that when I ask that question, I never have to watch pornography. I also have to realize that no matter what, that's the whole point. I realize that the whole point of leading people is to lead them away from pornography so that it's more about compassion and it's never about objectifying people. I realize that when you're objectifying people, you need to ask the question, how to never objectify people. I need you then to put it into a 1-hour video, and I need you to teach everybody else how to never objectify people. I need you to realize that it's about planning strategies. It's about life coaching people about how to become better as human beings. I realize that when you have a problem to masturbate, I realize that when you have a problem in masturbating and you're masturbating for so much around pornography, you also have to teach yourself how to never masturbate and watch pornography. I realize that Napoleon Hill says you must transmute your energy to never watch pornography and never masturbate so that you can go and be compassionate toward yourself and those people. You have to realize that when you are a person who's compassionate to the porn that you watch, I promise you that you'll never even watch it. I promise you that only people who are lazy and have nothing to do in life are people who are just objectifying those people and bringing them down. I realized that I was one of those people who was always watching pornography and masturbating and never really growing anybody. I was never really growing anybody, I was just having a pleasure time. I realized that when you just have a pleasure time, when you just have pleasure all the time, I realized that you're never really growing. You need to realize that you need to also find out what are your pain strategies and what are your pleasure strategies. You have to realize that, for example, I may be doing this in the terms of pain. I may be writing, I may be doing this video, I may be doing something around muscle work, I may be doing something around uploading and also doing quotes and doing videos and podcasting, anything that's going to, I realize anything that's going to help someone to succeed. I realize that's pain for me. I realize when it's pain for me, I realize it's also growth. I need you also to go and categorize what are the pleasures in your life. I realized today I had the pleasure of being in a bathtub. I have the pleasure of watching pornography. I have the pleasure of masturbating. I have the pleasure of going to search. I have the pleasure of going to search for women. I have the pleasure of going to women in life. I realize that communication is also a pain for me. I realize that music and making music is a pleasure for me. I realize now, since I have all these pleasures, I have to ask questions and I have to really answer them in a way that I remove all the pleasures from my life so that I can be in pain while doing that pleasure. I realize that traveling is a pleasure for me and it never really grows me. You may have heard people say that traveling will be the best experience of your life and it will grow you. I promise you that traveling will never grow you. I've watched plenty of fat people and people who are dying in life who are actually never really, I promise you, they're never even really growing while they're traveling. I need you to understand that traveling alone will never fulfill you. I need you to understand that money alone will never fulfill you. I promise you that anything of this world will never fulfill you. I promise you that it's more about asking questions about how can you self-improve and how can you really help demonstrate that for people so that you can really do it for someone other than people. You do it for God. You do it for something above yourself. You do it for something above people. You do it for something that you can never even describe, because no matter what, you just have to be compassionate so that you're growing. You have to realize that it's more about helping people than it is objectifying them. You have to realize that it's more about building strength than it is getting weak. You have to ask yourself how to never be weak. You have to ask yourself how to never just do pleasure. You need to teach yourself how to live life. You need to teach yourself how to overcome woman, for example. You need to realize that no matter what, you can still be around women and men. You just have to realize that you never have to be around them. You can be around yourself. You have to realize that it's more about teamwork now. You never have to be alone. You have to be alone improving, and you have to be around people improving. I never need you around people to just be. I never need you to just be around people to be around people. I need you to be around people so you're growing with people. I realize that it's more, when you look at a woman, I realize it's never about her beauty anymore. I realize it's never about what she's wearing. I realize it's never about her hair. I realize it's never about her nose and lips. I realize it's never about her eyes anymore. I realize it's never about anything about her. I realize it's more about what kind of skills does she have and how can I help her to succeed. I realize it's more about how can I help her to succeed. It's never really what type of skills does she have. I promise you that that's a selfish question. I promise you that you never ask what type of skills do you have. You really have to ask the question, how can I boost your skills? When you're looking at a woman or a man, you're never really looking at them and how attractive they are. You're really looking at them in a way that you're going to help them to succeed. You're going to help lift their life. You're going to help do something to lift them. I promise you now, for example, when I go on Instagram, I promise you I'll be looking for everybody to improve. I realize it's never really about attractiveness for me anymore. I realize it's more about, let me help this attractive woman to lift. I realize I never care about her attractiveness anymore. I realize it's more about lifting her than it is about what she is. I am never satisfied about who you are. I need to lift you now. I need to help you lift. I realize that those people who get stuck about a woman or a man, about how good they look, I realize that you're always falling. I realize that you're always dying. You're always dreading life. You're always in misery because you wish to have somebody who is never for you. I realize that no matter what, when you lift them, you will always be able to be with them. You have to understand that maturity lifts people. You have to understand that immaturity is something that you tease. You have to realize that it's something that you drag people down. You have to understand it's degrading to be. You have to understand that it's degrading to be immature. You never need to be immature anymore. You never need to be degrading. You have to answer the question. You have to ask yourself the question of how to never be degrading. You also have to ask the question of how to never be losing in life and how to never be a person who is immature. You have to realize it's more about let us help people now. I realize that when you go on your laptop and you have the whole day to yourself and you're thinking about pornography and masturbation, you have to really think, how can I help people to stop masturbation and pornography? You have to find ways to attack that's what you're trying to do. You have to realize that pornography and masturbation is never really the way to go. You have to realize that it's never really about trying, it's really about doing it. You need to be able to go and do what's better than pornography and masturbation. You have to realize that masturbating to imagination that you have a woman and men, you have to realize that is never the way to transmute energy in the first place. You have to realize that the only way you can transmute that energy is to go and find someone to help instead. I promise you that having a meaningful conversation with someone is much more than masturbating to a person you've never met. I promise you that also when you are watching sex and you're masturbating toward it, I promise you that you're just degrading yourself in the process. I promise you it's more about, let me go help those people who are having orgies and threesomes to have more of that for themselves. I promise you that when you're doing that, I promise you that you'll never even watch pornography. I promise you that you'll go and be more productive in the world and you'll succeed even more than those people who are having sex. I promise you that it's never really about going to chase women anymore. I realize it's more about how can you get women to chase you. You have to realize it's more about how can you get men to chase you instead of you chasing men. You have to realize it's more about how can you make others become better so that other women and men can chase them. You need to realize in terms of skills and abilities to do it for free, you have to do it for free so that you can also help yourself in the process, so you can put everything into action, so you can apply the words and techniques and what you need to do. You realize, for example, you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to realize when you go into the bath, you also have to realize that it's never just about the bath anymore. You have to realize, how can you grow in the bath? You have to get your phone out. You have to start journaling. You have to start listening to some music while you're journaling and growing. You have to realize that it's never just about looking at the wall. You have to be looking at your phone screen, or you can be looking at the wall, or you can be looking at the wall, imagining and talking to yourself about how to grow. You have to be strategizing with yourself. You can be in a pool of pleasure and grow. You never have to just be in a pool of pleasure and die. You have to realize it's never about death anymore. You have to realize it's about growth. You have to be so positive about yourself. You have to realize that you are ahead of the time. You have to be ahead of the time, and you have to ask questions that make you never drop. I promise you that it's never about how to go to prison. You have to realize it's more about how to get out of prison. You have to realize it's more about how to make the world come out of prison and also stay out of prison. You have to realize you have to teach that. You also have to teach how to never go inside prison. You have to teach how to never be a slave. You never be a slave in life. You have to teach also anything that's negative in your life. You may be a person who never has money. You have to go and teach how to make money. You also have to go and teach everything about money so that you can also boost your financial skills. You have to do it. You have to understand that nobody else is going to do it. You need to understand that when you need something in life, you have to go and teach what you need. You have to understand that nobody else is going to teach for you. You have to understand that nobody else is going to do anything for you. I realized today I hit myself. I asked myself this question. I realized it's never about me hitting myself anymore. I realized it's now about how to never get hit. I realized it's never about me being clumsy anymore. I realized it's more about how to never be clumsy. I realized it's never about my story anymore. I realized it's about their story now. I realized it's never about me talking in an interview. I realized it's about them now talking with me. I realized it's never about what can they do for me. I realized it's more about how can I help them to succeed. I realized it's more about what can I do for them. I realized it's never about what do I need. I realized it's more of what do people need. I realized it's never about me watching sex and masturbating to beautiful women. I realize it's more about how can I help beautiful women masturbate to me. I realize it's never about having orgies and sex anymore. I realize it's more how can I help more people have orgies and sex. I realize it's no longer about those people who backstab me. I realize it's more about how can I help those who backstab me to never backstab. I realize it's no longer about those people who hate me. I realize it's more about how can I be more compassionate to those who hate me. I realize it's no longer about being a stupid idiot. I realize it's more about how to never be an idiot. I realize it's more about how to never be dirty. You understand? You have to be a person who's really growing. You have to be a person who's really asking those questions and really making sure that you're putting it into video and you're giving people ideas on how to really ask better questions and do everything better overall. You have to understand, for example, when I do anything in life, I am always asking questions about how can I do better in this? I realize it's no longer appropriate for me to go around the crowd. I realize I can go around the crowd and grow. I realize that I need to grow anyway. I realize that it's more about free work than it is money. You have to realize that you have to connect the dots and you have to be willing to grow for yourself. You need to be willing to do it for free. And you need to be willing to be going into the freedom direction. You need to realize that it's no longer about the darkness road and how other people have sex in hotel rooms on cocaine and ecstasy pills. You have to realize it's more about how to teach those people who are having sex on drugs how to have sex sober. You have to understand that you have to teach something much better than what you are. You have to realize that you may be lacking something in your life. You may be lacking, you have to go and teach what you lack. I lack nothing these days. I realize that anything that's negative in my life, I have to go and teach how to never be negative about it. You may be a person who's negative around being around your biological dad. You have to realize how to never be around your biological dad. You have to go and study, and you have to go and apply the action. You have to go teach people how to never be around their family who is negative. You have to go and apply that information. You have to go and apply it. You have to go and apply it. You have to realize that it's never about mumbling anymore. It's about how can I boost my communication now. You have to realize it's never about alcohol and drugs anymore. It's really about how can I help people be sober. How can I help? I realize it's more about how can I help people be sober more. You have to realize that you may be a person who never travels. You need to ask the question, how can I travel more? You have to ask that question. You have to solve the problem. You have to go and teach the problem first. You have to go teach how to never be in one spot. You may be a person who is in one spot. You have to go and teach, and you have to ask yourself the question, for example, how to never be in one spot. You have to go and do 1 hour. You have to go and do a 4-hour video on that. You have to go and do a 1-hour video on that. You can do more than that. You never degrade yourself. Now you have to realize that now you have to do 5 hours of video for that. You never degrade your timing. I realized today I asked myself a question about how long shall I do this video. I realized I never have to put a time limit on it. I realized I'll do 1 hour minimum and whatever happens. I realized I can go for 5 hours. I can go for 6 hours. I realized when I feel like stopping, I just stop. I realized for me, it's about let me help more people to succeed now because I've had no success in my life. I'm not a faker. I really apply what I teach. I realize when I teach it and when I invest myself into the teaching and I really put my face out there and I really say this is my signature in this video, I realize when I speak it, I must live it. I realize I've been a person watching pornography and I wrote at 25 that you must never watch pornography. I realized that you must never watch pornography and masturbate. I realized that I was just saying that. I was really giving you reasons why you must never do it. I realized no matter what, back then I was copying others and what they were saying. I realized no matter what, that it's really true in the long term. You must never be watching pornography and masturbating because guess what? You need to increase your strength and you need to develop a better personality around your attitude so that you can boost your attitude so you can realize that you can go help those people now. You never need to be remaining inbound because of your habits. You need to now improve your habits. You need to move on from masturbation and pornography, and you have to realize to transmute that energy into helping others instead, to never do that. You have to realize that that's what I was saying in the book. I realize that that's what I'm saying now. I realize that in the long term, it's more about never watch pornography. I realize it's more about never watch pornography and never do masturbation because you can transmute that energy into helping others to never do it so that you can make more leaders. You have to understand that is the only way that you can overcome anything in life. You have to understand that you may be a junkie and you may be a person who's drinking alcohol and you are an alcoholic and a drug addict of any kind. You may be a person smoking cigarettes and you may be a person who's fat. You may be a person who eats meat. You have to go and teach how to become a vegan. You have to go and teach how to quit smoking. You have to go and teach how to become a vegan even when you are eating meat. I promise you that you'll invest yourself and your time much more into veganism because you'll find a way for yourself to be a vegan when you're teaching it. I promise you that those people who never teach how to become a vegan are never vegans. I promise you have to go and study veganism so that you can become a vegan. You have to go and study how to do anything in life so you can go and become what you need. You have to realize that life is about becoming. You have to realize that you need to go and study how to quit smoking so that you can quit smoking. You need to go and get the theory about smoking. You have to go and get the knowledge behind smoking. You have to go and see success stories such as I did around smoking. I realized that the best way that you can quit smoking is you make a 30-day challenge for yourself. You realize no matter what, you can do this for all areas of life. You can make a 30-day course around how to make money. You just go how to make money part 1, and you can go how to make money part 2, and you realize and you realize no matter what, that over the 30-day period you will be a person who's far escalated in what you're teaching. I realize I teach broad terms. I teach something so broad that it helps me in every single area of life to lift myself. I teach all referencing in one video. I never teach just one reference. I promise you there are people who are teaching one subject only. I promise you that when you go into the government schools around the area, in terms of a public school and a high school and an elementary school and a primary school, I promise you they teach maths only in maths class. I promise you I'll go to the same maths class and I'll put life in that maths class. I'll teach you mathematics of all states of consciousness. I'll teach you life. I'll teach you life about everything in that mathematics class. I promise you it's all mathematics. I promise you that they stick to numbers only. I promise you that life is numbers. I promise you I'll stick to life and numbers in that scenario. I promise you that this is all numbers also. I promise you that this is a mathematics class that I teach in Mathematics Union. I promise you that life in mathematics is really about numbers and everything. You need to be more broad than just mathematics. You need to include life in there. You have to include honesty in there. You have to include God in there. You have to include spirituality. You have to include everything in everything. You can never just be talking about just mathematics. I promise you that you just have a small mind. You need a broad aspect of ideas. You have to see Tony Robbins. You have to see that when Tony Robbins is speaking in front of 10,000 people, I promise you that he's speaking for all 10,000 people. I promise you that he's never answering one question for one woman. I promise you that he's answering one question that one woman has for everybody else. I promise you he's never doing it for everybody else. I promise you that he's probably doing it for something bigger than everybody else. I have to teach you that no matter what, you may be a person who is a junkie. You may be a person who is an alcoholic. You need to go and teach yourself how to get away from it. I can honestly say that I've already done that. I've already taught myself how to get away from porn and masturbation and poker and gambling and cigarettes and drugs, and I've stayed sober now for 6 years. I've also stayed off the legal drugs for 2 years. I've maintained my weight loss of 47 kilos. I've taught myself how to do it. I also teach that. I realize that the more I teach, I realize it's really about teaching more and more yourself to be broad so that you can teach people all aspects of life in how to develop their strength and how to increase their strength. I realize it's more about let's talk broadly and never just about English literature. I need to talk about Chinese. I need to talk about God's language. I need to talk about the stars language. I need to talk about the grass language. I need to talk about everything in terms of every single word in the dictionary language. I never just talk about one language. I never just stick to English. I stick to Chinese English. I stick to everything. I need to mix up Chinese with English. I need to mix up Arabic with English. I need to understand the vocabularies with that. I need to go speak English with people who are Arabic in their nature and their habitat to understand their nature. I need to understand that that's the study of English. I realize that when you're mixing English with food, you can also mix English with veganism. You can mix English with anything in life. You need to be able to broaden your aspect, and you need to also teach it. You need to quit smoking, you go and teach how to quit smoking. You need to be sober in life, you need to go and teach yourself how to be sober. You need to quit pornography, you need to go and teach it, and you'll quit pornography. You need to realize that you need to learn something. You need to go and teach what you learn. You need to realize what I just said. You need to learn the words in the dictionary. I promise you that you just go, how to be excellence. You never even knew about the word excellence. I promise you that you just go, how to excellence. You realize that you just use the excellence for it in every single word. You realize that you need to be excellence in this category so that you can be more positive, and so that you can realize that you just really pronounce your words better, and so you can really just make sure that you're on top of your vocabulary, so you can have better English, so you can really delve into the excellence of life, because a star is excellence. Because no matter what happens, you need to grow yourself. You need to show yourself that you can do it. You need to show yourself that excellence, people in terms of life, can always be excellence, because no matter what, excellence has to do with positivity. And then you're just always linking words together with excellence, and that's the whole point of teaching. You need to realize that you need to challenge yourself now. You need to realize, no matter what, you need to teach everything in life. You need to go and see how to gain attention. You need to go and teach it. I promise you that you'll go and do it better. I realize that those people say, I have no money. I have no money. I realize no matter what, you have to go and teach how to have money. I promise you that you'll find a way to have money. I promise you I promise you that when you're scared, you will never learn how to have money. I promise you need to go and work with the fear. You have to understand what that means. You have to go and embrace yourself. You need to realize that you need to rejoice in who you are, and you need to realize now to start doing something on camera and do it for free, so that you can really prosper for yourself first. You need to realize that you need the habits to develop yourself first before you develop anybody else. I have failed over and over. I realize no matter what, I'm still learning and growing. I'm still curious. I'm still learning from my mentors. I'm always open-minded. I'm always broadening my aspect of mind. I realize that's how to increase your strength and develop yourself. I realize when I am broad so much to the point that I can speak about everything in one video, I realize that's the whole point of life. I realize that's the whole point of lifting yourself. I realize that when you just lift yourself in communication, I realize you need to also involve communication with people. You need to involve communication with God. You need to involve communication with animals. You need to include communication with objects. You need to include communication with how you communicate with yourself every day. You have to understand that you have to link everything with everything in order to be a life coach, and also to be able to do something incredible. You need to realize that a 9-to-5 job will never teach you anything in life. I promise you that it will teach you the rules and regulations of that warehouse. I promise you that it will teach you the rules and policies and regulations of wherever you work only. I promise you that it will never give you extra education. I promise you it will give you money. I promise you that money will never increase your skills and talent. I promise you that what will increase your skills and talent is speaking in a broad range, such as I do, and also such as Tony Robbins. And so you realize no matter what, that you need a broad range of ideas to elaborate on, so that you can really plaster it into a video and you can sign yourself and your face in it. I promise you, no matter what, that is the legacy that you leave behind. And you need to realize, you need to realize that you need to speak much better. You need to realize that is all the foundation you need for a successful application in life. You have to realize that it's more about, let's use much broader range of words. You need to realize you need to increase your range of ideas. You need to do something incredible in order for yourself to answer better questions and to do better questions. You have to realize it's about asking better questions. I realize it's never about how can I kiss her. I realize it's how can I better myself so that she can kiss me. You have to realize better questions. You have to realize there are always better questions to do anything in life. You need to ask yourself something that's really going to elevate you, and then you need to teach it. You need to realize that this one topic is going into everything. I go into everything because I will never be limited by one subject. I need to talk about everything in one subject. I need to have so much spice, and I need the chili in my video. I need people in my video. I need objects in my video. I need the stars in my video. I need every single fucking herb out there in my video. I need every single spice of flavor with tomato sauce and everything inside my video. I realized no matter what, I never eat tomato sauce unless it's on a rare occasion. I need to understand that I just use it as an example to spice up everything. I need to use people. I need to use people's eyes in my video. I have to use everything in my video. I have people's eyes over here. I have people's eyes. I realize what people's eyes are. I understand that many people get ugliness about what I say. I realize it's never about that. I realize it's more about, hey, are you ugly? You have to understand that when you think ugly, you may be ugly. You understand? You have to understand that no matter what happens, you need to grow as a person. You need to grow as an individual. You need to grow as an individuality in a person of your own choosing. You need to choose yourself. You need to choose who you are. You need to choose a better person. You need to choose a better person than you are now. You have to realize that individual skill is the much more better skill than anything else in the world. You need to increase your individual skills. I realize that some people have more kids than me. I realize that some people have more of something else than me. I realize they may have more money in the bank than me. I realize I have more individual skills than them. I can make more kids than them. I can also make more money than them. I realize I also have more smarts and talent. I realize, and I can see it. I realize I can see it for myself. I also have to put the I before the and so that I can realize I need to put my I in place. I need to really work my I. I need to really show you that it's really about increasing your confidence over here. I need you to make mistakes on video. I need you to realize that making mistakes is a part of life. I need you to learn from it. I need you to learn from your mistake. I need you to start growing now. I need you to realize that we're going into other aspects of life. I need you to move on in your communication. I never need you to just be in one subject. I need you to start moving on with your imagination as you speak. I realize that the more videos you do every single day, the better for you. You need to be better and better and better. I realize the whole point of life is throw in everything. You need a bonus package. You need 5 million bonus packages in your video. You need to create yourself more than that. You need to create more than that. You need to do everything in everything. You can never just talk about one woman in your video. You need to relate that one woman with another woman. You have to relate another woman with another woman. You have to go from that woman into a horse. You have to realize that from the horse, you have to go into a star. You have to realize from the star, you have to talk about Elon Musk. You have to go from Elon Musk, you have to go to Nikola Tesla. You have to provide a story. You can never just stick to one woman. You can never just stick to one subject. You have to stick to one subject in terms of everything. You have to realize that everything is one subject. You're just broadening the aspect of your mind. You're just using something else to drive other people now. You're just using another idea to show for it. You're just using something else of nature to show that you're capable of doing much more than you are. You need to realize that it's more about how can I help others now? How can I help others succeed? You have to realize that when you are scared to quit pornography, you need to realize that it's about, let me create a life coaching video to show people how to just remove temptation from pornography. I realize from pornography you can remove temptation. You have to go and teach it. You have to go and teach how to now never masturbate on camera when you have a temptation to. You have to realize that it's more about let's transmute the energy from what's negative into what's positive. You then have to go and figure out what's positive. You have to go and figure out what's positive in your life, and you have to go and do it. I practice loads and loads and loads to be able to be on camera for this long and to be able to improve my communication. I promise you that when you see a difference between how my first course started in my how-to series and how I started now, I promise you that you'll see a massive difference. I promise you that massive difference is what I can teach you. I promise you I never lie about that. I promise you I started off saying I was this way and I was doing this and I was this way. I do this because this is my why. I was talking like that when I first started off. I was very slow. I was very mentally ill. I was very much fried. I had the impersonation of a drug addict. I was very cooked. I understand what that means. I was too much drugs in my head. I had too much paliperidone. I had too much schizophrenia. I had a mental health disorder. I was very slow. I understand what changed. I understand I changed for the better. I started to learn. I started to develop. I started to improve my communication. I started to put my story into videos. I started to really elaborate on my story. I started to elaborate on other people's stories. I started to promote other people in my video. I started to promote myself only in my video. I started to try everything with everything. I started to mix spices and herbs together, and I started to put meat, and I started to put carrots, and I started to put potatoes. I started to say I fucking throw out the steak now. I never fucking eat it anymore. I realized that it's fucking bad for me. I realized I fucking never need to be my dad anymore. I can be I now. I realize now I'm more unique. I'm much more of a worthy person. I realize that I succeed in all areas of life. I never have to be ashamed about who I am. I realize that no matter what, when you have low attention, you have to realize that you increase your attention through yourself only. I never need you to rely on other people for attention. I need you to realize that you just keep going. I need you to keep realizing that it's more about balancing your life in a way that you create more freedom for yourself while doing it for freedom. I realized the other day I had an ecstasy pill. I realized no matter what, I said that ecstasy pill is the fucking shit in terms of the worst negative stuff I've ever tried in my life. I realized that I also sinned in that moment. I said that this moment was shit. I never meant that this moment was shit. I meant that this ecstasy pill is shit. I had to really say that ecstasy pill was shit. I said this is shit. I mean, I said no way. I said no way was this moment shit. I realized that no way is this moment shit for me. I realized no matter what, I never need to confuse myself either. I need you to realize that you never call this moment shit, even when you're showing an ecstasy pill. You have to realize what you just said. You have to realize no matter what that you call the ecstasy pill shit. You have to really call it out. You have to be specific about what you're calling shit. You have to realize that when you're calling this moment shit and you're showing an ecstasy pill, you're confusing yourself and God. You're confusing that you thought you're calling the ecstasy pill shit. You're saying that this moment is shit. You're saying you have to say that this ecstasy pill is shit. I realize it's a massive difference. I realize when you call this moment shit, you'll never have this moment again. You have something worse. You have to understand how I sinned. I sinned against myself in a way that I was ungrateful about my moment. I was grateful for my moment because right after that moment, I went and did a 4-hour video. I need you to go and check my course 142 in how-to series. You have to realize no matter what, you need to be a person who's always learning how to grow. You need to realize that it's never about chasing women anymore. You have to realize it's never about talking to people in the past. You have to realize it's more about let's grow with people from the past. You have to realize it's more about let's grow with everybody now. You have to realize it's never about let's go have sex with MILFs. You have to realize it's more about how can I have MILFs have more of a better life. You have to realize it's more about how can I help teenagers live life. You need to realize that whatever age you are, you need to be teaching half your age. You have to realize that no matter what, it's never about you being in one box in one room masturbating to a laptop where there's pornography on it. You have to realize now it's about how can you help those people to get out of that position. You have to understand that. You have to understand it's about let's take charge. You have to understand it's more about let's move forward now. You have to realize it's never about masturbating to a woman or a man while you're holding a phone, while you're watching them. You have to realize it's more about how can you get out of that situation. You realize when you help yourself get out of that situation, you've really taught yourself and the world how to do it. You realize that no matter what, you need to be a person who's teaching it. I realize that there are many people who are playing tennis. I realize they're never teaching how to play tennis. I realize they're number one in tennis. I realize they're never teaching how to become number one in tennis. I realize they're just doing it for money. I never need you to do it for that. I realize what's happening around the world. I realize that people are becoming stars. I realize they're never teaching anybody anything about becoming a star. I realize they're just doing it for the money. I realize it's just for them. I realize what kind of inspiration they are. I never care about how many goals they scored when they never teach me how to score those goals. I never care about their lap around the 1,000th goal when they've never fucking taught me how to do 1,000 goals. I need you to realize that no matter what, when you're doing sport, you're really teaching anyway. You just have to realize that you have to go and speak it also. You have to go and speak it. I realize some people will do 1,000 pointers. I realize they'll never even teach how you've done it. You need to go and teach it. You never need to elaborate anymore on that. You can see already that person's doing something. You just need to go and do better. You never need other people to teach you. All you really need is yourself. You need to teach yourself how to do everything. I promise you that nobody taught me how to become a vegan. I promise you that Zig Ziglar motivated me into change, into veganism. I promise you that guy said, I removed these foods from my life. I promise you, I remember Zig Ziglar and what he said. I realized he was removing McDonald's from his life. I realized he was saying something around these words. I realized I had to throw out McDonald's. I had to throw out Subway. I had to throw out these foods. I realized no matter what, that when I was throwing out more and more foods from my life, I started to lose weight. I just picked up on that knowledge. I started to do it. I realized that Zig Ziglar never done it for me. I realized he motivated me to do it. I realized he inspired me with that idea. I realized I took the idea. I was like, I can do this easily. I can just go and throw out McDonald's and I can save $30 a week. I realized I'll go and throw out KFC and McDonald's and also Subway. I'll save money that way. I realize I throw out the soft drink. I realize I've just saved $730. I realize I've just saved $730 a year. I realize it's a year. You need to realize that there's a big difference between and a. You need to say a for English. You have to realize that Danny is Annie. You have to realize otherwise it will be Dani. You need to have the A in English. You have to have the apple. You have to understand otherwise it will be apple. You need to have the A in English. You have to realize no matter what, that in English, when you're speaking literature, you speak people how to speak literature in English. You have to realize that in high schools and primary elementary schools and in government schools, they teach you literature of English only. I never care about anything else. I'll teach you just literature of English. I realize that just stick to just one. I realize no matter what, you stick to one. I realize that you stick to one in life. I realize that you teach literature in life. You never just teach literature. You teach literature in life. I'll teach you how to shower. I promise you that's English literature as well. I'll teach you how to drive a car. I'll teach you how to build a business. I promise you that's all literature as well. I promise you it's literature of English. I promise you literature of English is everything. I promise you that literature of English is never just literature of English. I promise you literature of English is also walking. I promise you it's also driving a car. I promise you it's looking good. I promise you it's growing a beard. I promise you it's building $1 million. I promise you it's working for free. I promise you it's everything. I promise you that no matter what, to build strength, you need to work for free only. You never make money. You only work for free. I never care about how much people have money. I care about who's doing more work for free. I care about the free work. I trust people who do more free work. I realize no matter what, when you need a jet, I see Grant Cardone having a jet. I've seen that he has a massive company. I realize that he is really successful. I realize I never care about his money. I care about what he has. I realize that what he made is from the free content he done. I realize he sells his content. I'll never sell it. I'll never sell my comment. I'll never sell my content for money. I realize I'll be selling myself short. I promise you that Grant Cardone would have more people following him today and more attention than ever saying and being that he never priced his content. I promise you that nobody will get his real estate content for $10,000. I promise you that nobody will. I promise you that only some rich person who has more money than they need will do it. I promise you it's never really about the money. I promise you it's really about the freedom. I promise you that what Grant Cardone done around real estate for free is the golden nuggets. I promise you that is worth all the money in the world. I promise you that whatever he priced himself in $10,000, I promise you he priced himself short. I promise you that real estate content is worth for free. I promise you he would have really attracted the audience for free. I promise you he would have boosted his legacy. I promise you he would have been a person far bigger than he is now, saying and being that he never priced his content. I never price my content anymore. I just go with it. I just realized no matter what, it's really about the production of skills now. I realize I have no girlfriend at the moment. I realize I have no girlfriend because I really do content for free. I never go search for him. I realize when I search for him, I get disappointed. I realize when I go to have sex with women, I realize I get disappointed. I realize no matter what, I just never need to get disappointed anymore. I never go searching for women to have sex. I never go looking for a girlfriend. I realize I teach other people how to have a girlfriend. I realize I teach other people how to have sex. I realize that's the ultimate journey. I realize it's more about how can I be alone now and how can I really start emphasizing for other people to really grow. I realize I have other interests now. I realize it's never about MILFs anymore. I realize I had these crush on MILFs. I realize it's never really about MILFs anymore. I realize it's more about how can I help MILFs to succeed. I realize it's more about let's help them to succeed. I realize it's never about let's just go fuck them. I was that way. I understand. I can put my face on it and I can sign it. I never care. You can even see my facial attitude. I realize it's more about let's help them succeed. I realize it's more about let's help women succeed. I realize that many people have a negative attitude of objectifying people. I was one of them. I promise you, I was one of them who was watching pornography all this time. I realized no matter what, I was following the crowd. I realize now it's never really about that anymore. I realize it's more about let's lift the crowd so they never have to objectify people. I also have to stand for that. I also have to lift people. I have to lift myself through that. I realize it's a much better life for me. I realize I never have to degrade myself. I never have to be a person in the room wanking at a MILF. I realize that's stupid. I realize it's degrading. I realize I get lifted when I speak about this. I agree with people who speak about sex. I realize that communication is always key. I realize no matter what, that people who speak about sex must speak about it in a way to help us only. I realize that you never go and point people to have sex because it's sex. I never need you to have sex because of sex. I need you to have sex because it's something that can amplify you. I need you to realize what you are doing in life. I need you to realize that you never just go for a woman because everybody else is. I need you to go for a woman because you actually need to have a kid now, because you need to develop, because no matter what, you need to teach the kid how to grow, and you need to teach your woman how to grow so that you can develop. I promise you that's a much better reason to have a kid and a woman now. You will realize that it's only because you need to develop. I promise you that when you're chasing women, I promise you, you never need to chase women. You need to teach people how to never chase women and how to gain women to chase you. You have to realize that it's more about never being empty anymore. It's about how do we be more filled in life. You have to be fulfilled. I realize it's more about how to never be empty. You have to realize now when you're exposing any problems in your life, you always have a solution for it. I promise you that you pour out all your problems in a video, I promise you that you'll go and dry spell them all. I mean, you'll be the magician. You'll just say, for this problem over here that I mentioned, I promise you that this is the solution. I promise you I had to do this. I promise you then you'll solve someone else's problem. I promise you when you solve somebody else's problem, entrepreneur. You have a title of an entrepreneur. You have a problem-solving ability. You're a problem solver. You realize that entrepreneurs are problem solvers. You realize no matter what, when you see a beautiful woman and how beautiful they are, you have to realize now it's about how to help beautiful women, and it's never about just beautiful women. You have to realize that no matter how beautiful they will never help you succeed. You have to realize that they will never help you succeed because you only will. You only will help yourself succeed. You have to realize it's more about how can you help people succeed? How can you help to see that it's never about pornography anymore, and it's never about being a scum. I realize it's never about being a scum. I realize it's never about pornography anymore. I realize it's more about how can you help people succeed from poverty into richness through free work. I realize any problems and negativity that you have, I need you to throw it into a video, and I need you to really elaborate on it. I realize that is the best way that you'll solve your problems. I realize that each and every time you do it for free, I promise you that you'll go and solve problems for free. I promise you then you'll make all the money. I promise you it's never really about the money anyway. I promise you it's about your legacy. I promise you it's about you just living your life. I went to bed just earlier. I realized that I was thinking about how will I make all this attention and how will I travel the world. I realized it's more about freedom. I realized that freedom will find its way. I realized that when you're free, you'll always be free and that you never have to worry about it. I realized I have a freedom road. I realized I just follow it. I never care what's ahead. I realize it's freedom. I never have to worry about it. I realize when I follow the freeway, I will just follow the freeway. I never have to worry about what's ahead. I realize it's a freeway. I realize whatever is ahead is freedom. I realize I need freedom. I never care about what's ahead. I never care about violence ahead. I realize it's a free road. I realize there is no violence. I realize there's no violence in the free road. You have to realize that no matter what, you need to realize when you follow the freeway, when you're following the freedom of life, I realize when you're following the freedom of life, you always have something to say, you always have something to do, and you always look ahead in freedom. You follow the freedom road and you never worry about it. I need you also to realize that it's more about moving on from what you're talking about than speaking and elaborating on something for 1 hour. You need to elaborate on more than just one topic. You need to realize that every single thought is a topic. Everything you're ever doing in life is a topic. You need to realize it's never about that woman who hates you anymore. It's really how can I help that woman who hates you. You have to realize it's more about how can I help that woman